have never really had a plan. I stumble from one thing to the other. But when I want something, when I actually want something, I'm telling you, I am driven to the point where it's like tunnel vision. And I never have a plan B. I'm a big believer in a plan B. I think is it's inhibitive, because I don't think you can put all your effort into something if you know you have an exit strategy in place. So whenever I want something, it's usually me just going out and getting it. Of course, like my mother will tell you, the problem with me wanting something is I never usually want it for very long. I have a very low boredom threshold, and my average is about 2 years. So in about 2 years, I will have done something, achieved something, and once I feel like I've mastered it, it's my own personal perception. It may not be true at all, but in my perception, I feel like, okay, I've got a handle on this. Maintenance is a problem for me personally. So I'm always looking to re-challenge myself. And I have gone my entire life changing careers, and I'm not talking about offices, I'm talking about actual careers, from the prosaic to the bizarre. And right now, I think the screenwriting has been the longest stretch that I've had. It's been now, what, 8-9 years? And I think the only reason I stick with it is because it's storytelling and it's not the same story. So I find it extremely, extremely liberating. But when I started it, it's a very, very funny story. And a lot of people who work in Bollywood know it. I'm what you would call a proper outsider, not in the way that word is being bandied around today, but in the way that I'm a Christian girl, South Indian, from Santa Cruz, failed in Hindi religiously every single year. The only tuition I ever had to take was Hindi from Mr. Tiwari. It was brutal. For someone like me to go into the Hindi film industry, of course, was, it beggared belief. Most people who look at me be like, you can't string 3 sentences grammatically correct. But I'll tell you what happened was, I was married, and I still am, but when I just was like very young, very new into my marriage, just had my baby, and we had moved to Singapore. And when we were in Singapore for about a couple of years, when we came back, I was really, I hit Bombay and I was back home, but I felt like I had lost a large part of my life. The 2-year gap, my daughter was 2 years at the time, the maintenance had set in, and I felt like my whole world, which was used to be very gregarious and very dildar, had kind of minusculized itself into just being somebody something. Althea by herself had ceased to exist. I'd look at my friends, they were rushing about places, doing things. The conversations when you met them over dinner was full of how the challenges and the stuff they were fighting with on a daily basis. And mine, I found for the first time in my life, I didn't have much to add. Because, most of my friends at that point didn't have children. So I was the odd one out. But I used to come back home, and when I loved my little family and my little life, I felt underutilized, and there was something like, not quite happy about it. Anyway, one of these days, my friend who works she's a costume stylist, big one actually. She's a national award-winning costume stylist. She asked me if I wanted to go and see Dawn, the movie Dawn with Farhan Akhtar had directed. And it was in Fame Ad Lab. So I said, come on, I'll go to the night thing. I said, come on, let's go. I could do with a night out. We've gone, we've seen the film. And I don't know what happened to me. I didn't really see the film, if you had to say it. I didn't really see it. But the knowledge and I'm not even a Shah Rukh fan. I never was. I'm still not a movie buff. I'm not a movie buff. I just have books. I'm not a movie person. I'm a reader. I remember sitting there just thinking that this is the premiere of the film. And somewhere in this building is Shah Rukh Khan. Okay. I know this sounds really anyway, but that's the truth of it, okay? There was something about the way he looked out at screen in that particular film that got my attention. Anyway, I felt all enveloped in this whole Shah Rukh madness. I'd come back out, and I got into the car with Niharika, my friend, and her husband, and a couple of other friends in the car. And Ayub couldn't pull the car out on the road because there were 100,000 people on the road. This is 2:00 in the morning, on the road, just waiting. No cars could pull out. All just staring at this, just around, looking around. And then while I was watching this crowd in front of the car, it was like someone had turned a bell. It was like ding, and everybody's body language just went sideways and like that. And that to me was such a powerful visual that this, and I turned, obviously when you see someone turn and in en masse like that, I turned to look, and there he was standing at the top of the steps on his way down. And I remember thinking at that point, for a tiny man, actually he's not a tall man, the immense amount of power, that kind of like, I don't know, it was like remote control. It was bizarre to watch. And I remember looking at it, and the words out of my mouth were, oh my God. I mean, I was saying, oh my God, to Shah Rukh. I was, oh my God, is that power? Because I've never seen power operate like this. It blew my mind. And it made him 10 times more interesting to me. Like, I mean, you stand this far away, 100,000 people just want to take a look at you. I just found that amazing. And Niharika said, do you want to get out and take a look? And I said, yes. And we jumped out of the car. And I, because she knew people, obviously, we walked in the front, and I remember standing very, very close to him. And the only thought in my head at that point was, you're going to know me. See how delusional I must have been. Now when I look back and think about it, I mean, like, what kind of an idiot must I have been? I mean, like, it must have been the breastfeeding. I don't know, but I was obviously losing my senses. Anyway, 3 days later, I get up from my sleep and I have a full story in my head. Full. Like, and not just the story, I have the story, the film has released, I'm standing in the premiere, I'm watching people coming out of the theater, I'm watching it was that advanced, my dream. Anyway, I got up and I started writing it. I really just started writing it. And I was driven to it. I don't know how, and I was writing in a Word document, I didn't know any better. And I had narrated this to multiple friends by that point, okay, all my friends, who turned into my fan club, and they were like, fantastic, Althea, superb, go for it. So I was being fueled by this kind of like, I thought I was becoming a superstar. Until one fine day, another friend of mine said, you know what, you need to talk to someone in the fraternity who will get you a really valid opinion on what you're writing. I said, great idea. And I have a friend of mine who's an executive producer called Marjorie. I called her and I said, listen, I want to narrate a script to you. Would you have the time for it? And she said, yeah, totally. So we made a date for breakfast. And I've gone to Marge's house and I've sat down and she's all ready. And I start to narrate. First of all, she looks at me and says, where's the script? And I had a few sheets of paper, but I said, no, I'm just going to narrate it. Like, I don't need the whole script. And she gave me a look like that. And she said, okay, carry on. I started. Within the first 2 minutes of me narrating, I saw her yawning, checking her phone, just generally uninterested. So I stopped and said, I'm sorry, am I boring you? And she said, Althea, if I throw a stone out of my window, I will hit a wannabe writer. You're not a writer till you type the word the end. You get those 2 words at the end of a document, give that document to me, and I will then sit down and give you my professional opinion. Right now, you're wasting my time because I can give you 10 stories that I have in my head. It's a waste of my time. I'm telling you, those lines really blew my mind out. I was insulted and amazed in equal parts. She was making Goa sausages. Of course, I didn't storm out of there. I was going to sit down and eat. So I ate my Goa sausages with Pao and I went home. And I started writing like a fiend. And I typed, I'll never forget, because Word in the size of the font was 72 was the biggest font. Otherwise, you have to enter it. The predetermined sizes, 72 is the biggest. I typed the word the end in 72. I printed it out, I bound it, and I sent it to Marge, who took about 3 weeks and came back with about 45 corrections. She slashed, burned, cut here, moved this here. It was a qualitative assessment of my work. Absolutely today, I am always driven to type in that word, those 2 words, the end. Because this has always been was a big learning curve for me. I'm a superb starter and I'm a crap finisher. I don't see that as being a bad thing, because people like me who are crap finishers also tend to experience more, because we get bored and we're moving. And there's nothing wrong with being that kind of person. I don't see it. I just think that you have a bit of a mad life as a result of it. It's not so structured, it's not so organized, but oh my God, you've got experiences like you can't imagine. That's the big one. But I did learn one thing, that I had to type in those words at the end. So till today, while I write, even right now, I'm in the middle of a film. When I write, I am only driven to that one point. Type in the word the end. When I finish it, print it, bind it, then sit down with a pen and edit it, because I have something in front of me. But I only get there because I'm driven to those two words. So I don't have an exit clause. I don't have an exit. I never have a plan B. People always say, what if this doesn't work then? I said, I have no clue. I honestly don't know. If you tell me, what if this didn't happen? I'll be like, in my mind, I'm like, I don't see why it won't happen. Because I'm giving it my life, my heart, my soul. I am just really, I'm invested in it emotionally, spiritually, and with every fiber of my being. I don't honestly see why it can't happen. It's not something I even look at. So I never have a safety net. But I think because I don't have that safety net, I tend to achieve whatever I set out to do because I'm only moving forward. I might stop. I might look left. I might look right. But I am moving forward. And I think that is the, how do I explain it? For me, it comes, I'm being so unlucid. But what it does for me is that it just keeps me focused, but I'm not trying to be focused. It's not coming from a point of force. It's not coming from a point of intent, like, okay, now I have to sit down and I have to do this. No, it comes because I'm driven. I'm driven by the fact that I have nothing behind me to fall back. I can't move backward. I can stop. I can move left. I can move right. But I am always facing this direction. There's no concept of me getting off this bus. So when I type the word the end in, and this applies to anything in my life, not just a script, then I feel the freedom of a job well done to me. I've done it. I've achieved it. I've seen it as an idea and I've carried it to the other end. The idea itself will be a script. It may be a film. It may not be. It has its own little journey after that. And from that point on, its journey involves multiple people and then fill millions who watch it. That journey is its own. It's out of my control. But my part of it, I have done, achieved, and delivered. And that is, for me, really liberating. And when I've finished with that, I usually take myself on a staycation. I check into a hotel, alone, and I do nothing. I literally do nothing. I check in the hotel and I order room service because I love rooms. I love the fact that you can sit with the tray and eat it on your bed. I read a lot of books. I go to sleep. I have the beautiful 5-star breakfast buffet and I come back home. And usually the hotel will be within 10 minutes of where I live because if the girls need me, my 2 daughters need me, I can always get back. But the point I'm trying to make is really simple. If you want something, and I cannot overemphasize this enough. If you want something, anything, it could be anything. You have to, it'll depend on 2 things. 1, how badly do you want it? This is a big one. How badly do you want it? 1. 2, how much are you willing to give up for it? Because there will be prices. They may not be tangible, but you will. You will give up your time. You will give up your energy. You will give up your social life. You will give up things to make it happen. So how badly do you want it and how much are you willing to give up for it? You take these 2 boxes in the high 90s. You can't not get it. I just think that's the laws of the universe. You can't not get it. If you don't want it, also obviously the big umbrella trick here is you need to know what you want. You can't say, I want to be rich. That won't work. It's too fluid. You need to be very, very specific. But I think your whole body language, the vibe you give out, your energy, it's all just, it puts you in a zone to achieve if you have real desire. And very important, once you achieve, please, I am begging you, it's an addiction. Downtime, get off that bandwagon, do nothing. Do nothing for a while and replenish because it does take a lot out of you. It drains you. Whatever it is you want to achieve as badly, you'll always find when you achieve it, like even if it's an exam, you study so hard, you give it all your best, and then you achieve it. And then after it's over, you're like, but if you go on to the next exam, you can't, it's not, take the time off, take you. So you do something for you, and then just you, sit down quietly and do nothing. But anyway, I think I've rambled as usual. I don't no track of time, no track of concept. All I want to say is, please do yourselves, everyone, a big favor. And if you really want something, do not have a safety net. That's my opinion, because it sets you up for failure. And that's the end of that.